Om Namo Narayana. 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 I bow to Lord Narayana. I bow to him in my Guru. I bow to him in all of you. Remember that you are Narayan in a temporary human form. But that human form is not your reality. You know, in our, we have a little shop called the Wishing Tree or Kalyana Kalpataru at the Metropolitan Mall in Gurgaon. And it contains posters of many photographs that I have taken. One of them is a favorite of mine. It's a bit of a joke. It's of a spider. And it says, our self-portrait, perhaps 1 billion years ago. You are any form possible and no form. Remember, you are not just this human body, whether male or female. You were one time a spider. You were one time a germ. And the important thing is to always remember that your reality has no form. You are nirakara. You are without form, formless. Let me read to you a very short saying from Conversations with Yogananda. It is number 198. I once met a very successful and wealthy man who said to me, I'm disgustingly wealthy and disgustingly healthy. However, I replied, you are not disgustingly happy, are you? He admitted he was not. Soon afterward, he became a student of this path. One thing that I loved about my guru was that he was so humorous. He didn't go into a long discussion. He put the man's own vocabulary back to him. If you're disgustingly wealthy and disgustingly healthy, are you disgustingly happy? No, you're not. And it was obvious to the man himself that he was not. You know, here lecturing in India, I have enjoyed it because people appreciate humor. And well, I think that a lack of a sense of humor shows some lack somewhere, not just of humor, but of something else. There was some fellow disciple of mine who criticized me for throwing people's questions back at them in a humorous way, and her comment was, well, they can take it because you're a Swami, but that isn't the way to speak. Well, I think it is, and I hope you forgive me. If you don't like it, well, you can always turn the knob and go to another program. But I am simply who I am, and I don't try to put on any kind of airs or pompousness or show of omniscience and so on. I know quite enough, and I can defend myself, you might say. I remember I was talking to an Italian priest one time and asked him if he could speak English, and he said in Italian, I can defend myself. Well, that's about how I feel. I loved my guru's wit, but always he pointed out and always came back to the truth. He never deviated from that ultimate goal. He said that the goal of life, and this is actually in a book that he wrote it originally as under the title of The Science of Religion, but it seemed to me more appropriate now. Back when he came to America, it was a novelty to speak of religion as also a science. Now it's not so much so because he popularized that concept. And so I have called it God is for everyone. And why I say I have called it, what I mean is that it was edited by that disciple I spoke about a few days ago who ultimately betrayed him. And he knew English in a scholarly way. My guru, when he first went to America, was not that sure of English, and in fact he never mastered English. He had editors work on his work, but he wanted only those editors who really understood his meaning too. Nonetheless, he in his book, The Holy Science, the Science of Religion, it was ideas, as a disciple of my guru said, when my guru, he was young, when my guru was young, they were boyfriends together. And when my guru came back from his trip to Japan, which is mentioned in the Autobiography of a Yogi, he got the inspiration for how he should reach out to the world with a message that would bring people to God. And so he wrote these ideas down in an outline form, and then this disciple wrote them into a book. Well, the ideas were stirring. They were wonderful. They really hit home to the modern desires of all men and showed them how those desires could be fulfilled only in God. But the trouble with this disciple was that, being scholarly, he was a bit pompous, and I rewrote the book recently, 1 or 2 years ago, and gave it the kind of life that I knew my guru spoke with. And so there's a touch of humor. It's a much more readable book than that one, and if I do say so, I say it, because I really felt very enthusiastic. After reading this book, I felt, well, now everybody will love this book. I always have loved it, but I was always sort of thinking it was a bit dry. I loved the truths behind it. This way I injected his personality into it as much as I am able to, but in meditating on him, I have tried always to ask him to write through me. That's something that this other disciple never tried to do, because he always thought he knew more. Well, anyway, that concept was that everybody in the world, you know the teaching of Shankaracharya, when Buddha came, he talked in such a way that many people thought he was an atheist, because he didn't want to emphasize God. It's all God. It's not this guru decides to do so and so. Really, when my guru came back from Japan, it was not really so much a decision of his as now he knew what God wanted him to do. Buddha at that time needed to tell people that their goal was they had to work on it to find the goal of life. They couldn't just ask the gods to bless them. That's why he used to put down the karma kand. Not that it's wrong by any means, but that we need to add our, as my guru said, put it, our blessing. We need to make that effort too. That was Buddha's mission, but because so many people believed after that Buddha didn't believe in God, because he didn't talk about God, because too many people were asking God to do everything for them. But then when Shankara came, he said, no, there is a God, but he doesn't have a form. You can't call God Krishna. Krishna is an aspect of God. Kali is an aspect of God. All forms are aspects of God, but he said God himself has no form. And he defined him with the famous word Satchidananda. And my guru translated it, ever existing, ever conscious, and he added, ever new bliss. Because that bliss never gets tiresome. It's not like the joys of this world where somebody retires and has a beautiful house by the sea with rose-colored trellis and flowers and garden and birds and a lovely home. After a while, no matter how beautiful it is, as my guru used to put it, people begin to ask and say, well, somebody please hit me on the head to make sure I'm alive. People get bored with that kind of existence. This bliss of God never becomes boring, because it's the bliss of your own being. It's what has always been with you. No matter how long you've been in manifestation, before that, after that, ever. It's an eternal bliss which is ever new. It's like the Om, which seems to play on the heartstrings of your own being. And that bliss is what you are. Now, everybody, the wonderful thing about this definition, and Yogananda made it very clear in this book, which I really recommend the book. When everything that you seek, when you think that you're seeking money, it's not money you're seeking, it's bliss behind that money. You're seeking happiness in this world. And actually, it's a twofold search. One is to avoid pain, and the other is to find happiness. And that is what everybody is doing. The only problem is that they don't understand that happiness is in their own being, because even from before birth, their energy is going outward to create the physical body, and then when they're born, the energy is going outward to try to get control of the physical body and learn how to use it, learn how to walk and talk and so on. All the energy has to go outward. It's rarely that you find a baby thinking in philosophical terms. He's trying so hard to just get a hold on his physical body. And so very few people are mature even when they reach adulthood, adult years. And they seek what they think is happiness, but they seek it outside. And so some people think that they're finding health through money, wealth through happiness through wealth and health. Excuse me, I didn't put that very well. They think that they're finding happiness through a wonderful mate. They think they're finding happiness or will find happiness through this beautiful house and all the things that people desire. It just goes on and on. But ultimately, there is only one thing people want, and they don't see it first because they think that they finally get money and they think, oh, I'm so happy. But what happens after a while? Money becomes boring, just like it was in the case of this man. It happened to be George Eastman, the founder of Eastman Kodak. I think it was he. At any rate, he had not found happiness, and that's why he spoke to Yogananda in such a cynical way, saying, I'm disgustingly wealthy and disgustingly happy. All people are looking for happiness. Even the worst criminal thinks he'll find happiness by, first of all, getting rich, secondly, by hurting other people because he's not hurt, and therefore he can compare his wonderful state of safety, because he's got guns to support himself and a gang behind him and so on, with the unhappiness of others who are well, like a friend of mine met somebody from the poorer sections of New York. I think he belonged to a street gang, and he used to carry a revolver. And he told her that he felt very powerful because he knew that if anybody hurt him, if anybody opposed him, if anybody stepped on him, bang, and he could kill him. And he thought that would make him happy. But you don't see, if you look at the faces of people who have lived to hurt other people or to aggrandize themselves, you don't see happy faces. So please understand that what you're finding when you think that you're finding wealth is really an image in your own mind. You know you want to be happy. You think that's going to make you happy because you have that thought. Therefore, when you fulfill that thought, you think, I've attained something, I've attained happiness. It doesn't last, and that is why you don't find anybody in any field, anywhere, who says, well, I've arrived. This is what everybody is looking for. Nobody. They reach the peak, and then they realize this isn't it. There was a man in the army who was going around picking up pieces of paper off the ground. This isn't it. This isn't it. Finally, they thought maybe he's a bit crazy, so they sent him to the camp psychiatrist, and he kept picking pieces of paper off the desk. This isn't it. This isn't it. Until finally, the psychiatrist recommended him for a medical discharge. When he was given this medical discharge, he said, this is it. Well, in fact, however, it is not it. This is a song I'm going to sing you, which shows that only when you give of yourself do you receive happiness and love and peace. One day when I was roaming. God bless you. One day when I was roaming alone across the lea, I thought I heard a sad sweet voice declare these words to me. Declare these words to me. Young man, where are you roaming across this broken land? The flowers are dead, the brittle trees are dying on every hand, are dying on every hand. The grass, it has been eaten, the cattle hang their heads. It's many a day in the ruthless sun since they were lastly fed, since they were lastly fed. The farmer, he sits weeping, a life of dreams is sped. His true love shared it to the end. Now their dog howls by their bed. Now their dog howls by her bed. Young man, go to the farmer, gaze deep into his eyes, read there the dreams that filled his heart and killed his happiness, and killed his happiness. For life he thought these meadows would give to be his own, but life he gave not first to them, and life he's never known, and life he's never known. For peace he thought these meadows would give to be his own, but peace he gave not first to them, and peace he's never known, and peace he's never known. For joy he thought these meadows would give to be his own, but joy he gave not first to them, and joy he's never known, and joy he's never